Welcome to another day of Bhagavad Gita Sadhana. It's day 100. We've been doing this 100 days, quite a milestone, which means we're almost a third of the way through. Wow, time has flown. And speaking of numbers, if you're into numbers, I forgot to mention yesterday on my birthday, sunrise was at 7:11. That made me feel pretty lucky that day, and I feel lucky every day to have your company as we discuss one of the greatest texts of world literature and of the spiritual path. What exactly is your spiritual path? We're back to that focus. The Gita recommends 18 distinct paths that you can follow individually, and each one will lead you to, I want to say success, but perhaps it's best to say the ultimate destination, whatever that is for you. You get to pick, what is my destination? 18 paths. And you can pursue one of these individually, or you can create like your own tapestry because we are multidimensional beings. Chapter 1, if you recall, the Yoga of Arjun's Dejection was talking about kind of embracing what's going wrong in our lives, because in our culture, in the West especially, if something's going wrong, it's like, oh no, we have to get back to a happy place. We have to distract ourselves. We have to have everything going right. And the Gita says, no, when something's going wrong, that can actually jumpstart you into growth. Chapter 2 was about knowledge, the most important knowledge, the knowledge of who you are, really, your deepest self. And chapter 3 we looked at for a few days, karma yoga, the yoga of action. This is very good for those of us who are doers in the world, like Arjun. He says, okay, I have a problem. Now I know a little bit more about myself. Now what do I do about it? Chapter 4 is just as important. It's the knowledge of how to end action. That could be one way of translating the title. For those of us who are doers, like Arjun, it's knowing when to stop doing. And this can be even more important than knowing how to do for some of us, especially again here in the West, where doing is highly valued and praised, and doing nothing, not so much. But how do we, I don't want to say do nothing, how do we make peace with stopping whatever we're doing? Taking a pause, taking a gap. That's what chapter 4 is about. And maybe this is useful for you. I will chant a bit, 2 verses from chapter 4, verses 17 and 18. I'll put the numbers in the comments below when we're done, where you hit the more, in case you're like, oh, I want to go back to these verses. Well, Krishna is talking to Arjun and says, the natures of action and wrong action and inaction must all be known beyond thinking. The way of action is quite hard to grasp. Who sees inaction in action, and action in inaction is enlightened among men, and is a yogi doing all actions. Woo! That can be a brain bender, and actually that's kind of the focus of this chapter. For those of us who like our action with a little bit of thinking and philosophical contemplation. So what Krishna is saying here is you have to understand action, definitely, to have a successful life, even to maintain your body. But you also need to understand what wrong action is and what inaction are beyond the mind. In the Sanskrit, the word is you must grasp these concepts with your buddhi. Buddhi is the intuitive mind. Manas is the thinking mind. So it has to go beyond thinking about, and getting caught up in this in action, wrong action. What is it, and mental gymnastics could be a good way to put it, to just knowing what it is. Uh, this is the realm of practice. For example, many of us, whenever we start something, we really have to think about it, typing or a sport or cooking. But then after a while, it just becomes natural and something we can do, and we can express ourselves through it. And that's the idea here, is not to let just doing rule our lives, but to be able to genuinely learn how to express ourselves through our action and through our inaction. And we'll talk more about this tomorrow because it is kind of a heady concept. But today, perhaps during your contemplation, you can focus on finding inaction in action and action in inaction. For example, when I sit outside, if my neighbors are out, I'm sure what they'll do upon seeing me being motionless for 5 minutes is like, wow, she's sitting and doing nothing for 5 minutes. In fact, I've had many people say to me they don't want to learn about meditation because it's basically doing nothing. I had somebody say this: why should I pay somebody to teach me meditation when I can sit and do nothing on my own floor? Well, as many of us know, although meditation looks like inaction, there's actually something going on. And vice versa. We can see something going on and realize that at its core, really nothing is happening. That can be a little harder. And what Krishna says is actually the universe is unfolding itself into being. And whether you do something about it or observe it, it's happening. So there is action in inaction, but also inaction in action. Being is at the heart of doing. Woo! Oh, good thing we have a chance to practice. And I'm dedicating today's practice to, I just want to dedicate it to so many people every day. So I'm going to start making a longer list. But to Donna, good luck with your singing tonight. Let your being flow through your doing. And also to Deb, hey, great bread. Thank you. I'll give you the full review soon. And to Amie and Diana, who are so generous, three of the most generous people I know who inspire my spirit every day. And of course, we have my partner in crime, Oliver, trying to be an invisible ninja as we start with our balance pose. And the snow has started. I just heard some falling on my roof. I'll try to knock in between rounds if I remember. Let's do it or not do it. See ya. Oh, no, 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 no. All righty, time for our contemplation. As you sit, doing apparently nothing, can you notice the action within? Heartbeat, breath, even the mental action. Check in 5. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2 Stay in. Welcome back. Meow, meow, meow. So this is the start of exploration of chapter 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not doing something often requires an action on our part. To say, I'm going to stop, that is an action that can lead to inaction or rest. And sometimes what appears to be an action is inaction. For example, I'm trying not to talk to you. I'm trying to let wisdom flow through and just be the vessel for that. So there's the inaction in the action of talking. May you have an active or inactive day, however you choose to spend it. And I hope I get to connect with you again tomorrow. Until then.